Good morning. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jennifer. I'm a teacher at English in the City Prato, and this morning we are going to be doing a focus activity level 2-3 at the weekend. I want to thank everyone for tuning in this morning, because these focus activities are very important, not just to escape the daily routine of staying indoors. Good morning, Cosmine. Thank you very much for joining me today. This morning, our focus activity, level 2-3, at the weekend. We're going to be talking about weekend activities, planning weekend activities. And this morning we are live on our YouTube channel and our Facebook page. Good morning, Matteo. Thank you for joining me today. Good morning, Joelle, and good morning, Valerio. I think I've got your name right. If there's any problem with the connection or with the audio, please let me know. Good morning, Valentina. Thank you so much for joining me today. For those of you just tuning in, and Ibrahim, tell me your name again. I'm sorry, I think I've forgotten. I know in English it would be Abraham, but let me know what your name is, please. So this morning I have Cosmine, Matteo, Joelle, Valerio, Valentina, and can you write your name down for me, please? I'm so sorry. For those of you just tuning in, we are doing a focus activity 2-3 at the weekend. And good morning, Fabio, and good morning, Elena. Thank you so much for joining me today. Ibrahim, thank you very much. And I'm so sorry I forgot. So this morning, we are talking about weekend activities. Good morning, Daniele. Thank you so much for tuning in this morning. We're getting ready for the weekend. I know that today is only Thursday, but I've already got that weekend state of mind. And even though this weekend we will all be in our homes, it's still nice sometimes to imagine what we want to do at the weekend if circumstances were different. So, as I said, for those of you just tuning in, we are starting our focus activity 2-3 entitled At the Weekend. In this morning's focus, we are going to talk about weekend activities. We're going to make questions, and we are reviewing the third person. Now, for those of us who work from Monday to Friday, on the other hand, I work Monday to Saturday. The weekend is very, very important. It's important for two reasons. One, it gives us a chance to relax and to think about other things, possibly things that we do for fun. And it also gives us the opportunity to catch up and do errands, things that we need to do in our homes, in our personal lives. Whether we go to the supermarket or we go shopping or we spend time with family, the weekends are the days of the week where we have the opportunity to do things that we like to do and things that we have to do for our personal lives, not just going to work, as most of us do during the week. Good morning, Andrea, and good morning, Sandra. Thank you so much for joining me today. We are starting our focus activity, and we are talking about weekend activities. No, we can't go outside this weekend, Valerio, but for those of you who have a terrace, or maybe if you have a window, or possibly a small garden in front of your homes, the days are getting longer and they are getting warmer. So it's nice to get a little bit of fresh air when we can. So today we're going to pretend that we are going out this weekend, Valerio. So try to let your imagination go for a minute. And what are some weekend activities? Because there are things that we have to do all week long. We go to work, we go to the bank, we go to the post office. We have other errands that we need to do, professional errands. But what are some weekend activities? Things that we like to do, and we don't have to rush to do it because possibly we have all day and we don't have a schedule. I think that's the nicest thing about the weekend is that you can sleep a little bit later. You can eat when you're hungry. You can maybe sit on the sofa or read a book without feeling that you're late or that you're behind or that you have to hurry up. We're going to ask and answer these questions all together. What do you usually do at the weekend? As you consider your answers, just type them in and put them in our conversation box on the right. So think about what you used to do at the weekend, what you would like to do at the weekend, and possibly as soon as they say we can go out, what's the first thing you want to do at the weekend? So these are a series of questions all about the weekend. Usually at the weekend, I go to the supermarket, I do laundry, and I clean my house. So ironically, I'm more tired on Sunday than I am on Friday. But I realize now that it's important also to take time for yourself and to relax and do the things that you like to do. So what do you like to do at the weekend? I think after I've worked all week, I enjoy relaxing at the weekend. I enjoy sleeping a little bit later at the weekend. Thank you very much. Ibrahim says, I like to play football at the weekend. And where do you play football? Valerio, thank you very much, says, I like to play computer games and go to snow. Oh, what do you usually do? So you play computer games and you go to school. Do you go to school on Sunday also, Valerio? Or do you just go on Saturday? Daniele says that I and my wife usually go shopping and visit museums. Now, my question for you, Daniele, is this. Do you do the shopping? Meaning, do you go to a supermarket? Or do you go shopping because you like to go shopping? Do we remember the difference between doing the shopping and going shopping? If I do the shopping, that means I go to the supermarket. If I go shopping, then I buy things that I like. I buy clothes, I buy shoes, I buy a new phone. Chinese school. I know, but it's Chinese school on Sunday too, Valerio. I've been thinking about going to Chinese school. Do you know why? I would like to learn how to write in Chinese. I would love to. So what do you usually do at the weekend? And do you take the time at the weekend to do things you like to do? Ibrahim said that he likes to play football. So I'm assuming that you usually play football at the weekend. Do you usually stay at home or go out? So for the answers to these questions, we're also using our adverbs of frequency. What do you usually do? Do you usually stay at home? Okay, thank you very much, Elena. Elena says, at the weekend, I usually go to the supermarket in the morning. I clean my house. I usually have lunch with my parents. I miss them. I know you do, because that's the hardest part, being so close to people, but not being able to see them. Visiting them is the first thing I would like to do as soon as the quarantine will finish. Beautiful, Elena. Thank you very much. Elena answered all of the questions. Thank you very much, Elena. Elena said what she usually does at the weekend. She usually goes to the supermarket and cleans her house. She usually has lunch with her parents. And the first thing she's going to do when the quarantine finishes is visit her parents. So after the quarantine finishes, because it will finish someday, what's the first thing you would like to do? Daniele says, I usually go to the supermarket. Excellent. So you do the shopping and then you go shopping with your wife for things that she likes to buy. So you do the shopping and you go shopping. Very good. Thank you very much, Daniele. Do you prefer being active or relaxed at the weekend? So from your answers, I see that a lot of us are active. We're cleaning our houses. We're doing the shopping. We're going shopping. We're going to Chinese school. We're playing football. Does anyone prefer relaxing at the weekend? Does anybody want to relax? I do. When I get to Friday, I'm so tired I could cry. So I want to relax and I like to relax. But unfortunately, as Elena pointed out, and Daniele also, and also Valerio, there are things we have to do at the weekend. So we do the shopping. We go to school. And then when all of that is finished, I would prefer to relax. Me too, Elena. Maybe you understand also that sometimes when you get to Monday, you're more tired than you were on Friday and Saturday. I usually start the week exhausted because I do more on Saturday and Sunday because the days are longer. I think we should all learn from this experience how important it is to take a little bit of time. There's a word we use in English called decompress because you get so filled up with pressure going through the week and being active and working and rushing here and there that when you get to the weekend, you need time to just to let all the tension out, to decompress and relax. Good morning, Maria. Thank you so much for joining us today. We've just started. Don't worry. We're talking about weekend activities, Maria. And we were talking about what we usually do at the weekend and what we like to do at the weekend. Thank you, Daniele. Daniele says, I prefer relaxing at the weekend, but it is impossible because my family gives me activity. Right? Oh my goodness, these families. We get to the weekend, we say, okay, everyone just be quiet. But then they talk and they talk and they talk and they give us things to do. Here we have on our screen, we have 3 verbs. Go, watch, read. Each of these words in the columns here can be matched to a verb. So these are usually the phrases that we use when we talk about weekend activities, things we like to do. What do you like to do? I like to go. What do you like to watch? I like to watch. What do you like to read? And the same thing. So we want to match the words in these columns to the correct verb. For example, read newspapers. Thank you very much, Daniele. That's something that a lot of people don't do anymore. I know that the newspapers produce it's a lot of paper waste. It's a lot of paper waste, but I miss the feel of newspapers. I used to buy the Sunday Times, the New York Sunday Times every Sunday, and I miss that. Thank you, Valerio. Go to the beach. And Ellen says, yes, I agree. I think this experience should make us think. We need to take time to relax, but we need to appreciate more our daily routine as well. Very good, Elena. That's a very thoughtful comment, and I agree with you. Oh, Danielle and Ibrahim are going ahead. Watch movies. Thank you, Danielle and Ibrahim. And Valerio says, watch TV and go for a walk. Are you going in order, Valerio? Because we're going in order here. The first one was newspapers and then movies. Shopping. Shopping, Daniele, thank you. Go shopping. Remember, go shopping is different from doing the shopping. Magazines. Valerio, slow down. Go shopping. Thank you very much, Ibrahim. And read magazines. Watch TV. What are soap operas? Do they even still have them on television? Does anyone know what a soap opera is? Soap operas are those television programs that come on in the afternoon. Does anyone know what a soap opera is? I don't know if they're still on television, but they're the programs in the afternoon that the housewives would watch, women that stayed at home. And the story lasts for years. People come back from the dead, people get married, watch soap operas. Thank you very much. I used to watch soap operas a long time ago in the United States. I don't watch them anymore. If anyone knows, you don't go soap operas, Valerio. You watch soap operas on TV. Thank you, Maria. Go for a walk, which is something that a lot of us miss. I miss going for a walk because I can walk near my house, but if I leave the street, there are usually people that check on you to make sure to ask you where you're going. And I think Valerio said before, thank you, Daniele, go for a walk. A lot of us miss that. That's something I used to enjoy a lot. Going for a walk in the city or going for a walk in the country and maybe meeting somebody on the way and having a short conversation. To the beach. One hint is that whenever we see to, usually the verb that comes before is go. Go to the beach. Running. Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Daniele. Go running. How about books? As we're going through these lists of weekend activities, go running, thank you very much. Think about which of these activities you like to do. Because after which, we're also going to have to ask questions about these activities. Thank you, Valentina. Go running. Does anyone here go running? Read books. Ironically, even though I'm home all the time now, I don't have any time to read. I don't have any time at all to read. And I have so many books out. I think Valerio said before he got very excited because Valerio has already finished the list. Go out. What does it mean to go out? Thank you, Daniele. Go out doesn't mean simply open the door and go outside. To go out is a general term for doing something outside of your house. Thank you, Maria. Also read books, which is something that I enjoy very, very much. Go out is the general term to leave your house, not to go outside, but to do something outside of your home. Yes, I like walking too. Luckily, Elena, I have a field behind my house. So certain times of the week, I can't go outside every single day. I just don't have time. But a few times a week, I'm able to walk for a little bit behind the house and kind of clear my head. Because staying inside all the time is very, very difficult. It's very difficult. You have go out and films. You can watch films on TV. You can get your DVDs. And the countryside. Did someone answer that already, the countryside? I think we're missing a word here. Countryside. Countryside, if we use go to the countryside. Go to the countryside, like go to the beach. So at the weekend, some of us may like to get in our car and go to the countryside. As we look through these weekend activities, go shopping, go for a walk, go to the beach, go running, go out, go to the countryside, watch movies, watch TV, watch soap operas, watch films, read newspapers, read magazines, read books, a lot of which now are digital. Thank you, Valerio. Go to the countryside, go to the countryside. Let's think about the activities that we like to do. Okay, now in the first slide, when we looked at the first slide and we answered a few questions about weekend activities, what do you usually do with your family at the weekend? So now we're not talking about things that we like to do. And Daniele mentioned that he does the shopping with his wife at the weekend, and that his family gives him a lot of activities at the weekend. And that happens definitely if we have children or if we're married, or even if we have relatives that live near us. We may have responsibilities to them, and that keeps us busy at the weekend. Elena says, spring is the best season to go to the countryside, in my opinion. And I agree. This is a beautiful, beautiful season. This is definitely the best season, I think, to move around, to visit different places, because it's before the tourism season starts, and it's not too hot. The weather is mild enough that you're comfortable being outside. So what do you usually do with your family at the weekend? Because we see that the weekends are not always relaxing. We have responsibilities too. So even if we don't have family that lives with us, maybe we have family nearby and we have to take care of them. Or we have close friends that need our help and we have to help them. Talk about school, because Valerio goes to school at the weekend. So you're very busy at the weekends too, Valerio. Do you get any time off? Are you off on Sunday? Usually with my family at the weekend, what do I do with my family? Yes, I go to the supermarket with one of my children. Usually one of them comes with me. And we clean the house at the weekend. So it's not a very relaxing weekend. And especially, Elena said, spring is the best time to go to the countryside. It's also the best time to clean your house. Now we want to think about things we usually do with our friends at the weekend. Do you have the opportunity to spend time with your friends? Ibrahim said that at the weekend he plays football. Who do you play football with? Do you play football with your family? Very good, Elena. Elena says, at the weekend, I usually have lunch with my family. This is the opportunity to eat and to talk together because during the week we never have time. Thank you very much, Elena. This is the answer to the first question. What do you usually do with your family at the weekend? And so Elena says at the weekend they eat together because when you eat together, you talk together, you share experiences because during the week it's very, very busy. Valerio, I have 3 children. I have 3. I have 3 boys and they're very, very big. They're very big. In fact, my oldest just turned 20 the other day. So now I have a 20-year-old in my house. I can't believe it. So let's talk about what we do with our friends at the weekend. A lot of my friends, a lot of my very close friends don't live in Italy. So I take advantage of the weekends to talk to them on the phone. What are their names? Valerio, focus on the lesson. Their names are Matthew, Isaiah, and Jonas. I have 3 sons. And Matthew is 20. He just turned 20 the other day. So at the weekends, I take the time to video chat with some of my friends in the US. Elena says, I sometimes go to the cinema with my friends. A lot of times the weekends are also the time to get together with friends and to do things that we enjoy doing, like going to the cinema. At the weekends, I also take classes. I and my friend usually go to the beach or mountains at the weekend. Very nice. In fact, we are getting closer to the beach season. It's getting very warm now. It would really be nice to go to the beach. With another one of my friends, I usually take a book binding class. I've gotten very passionate about making books. So usually on Sundays, maybe twice a month, I take a bookbinding class with one of my friends. No, I don't have a daughter, Valerio. I only have 3 sons, and they are enough. Thank you, Maria. Maria says, the weekend with my family and lots of things. So Maria says that she spends the weekends with her family. And for those of us who have children or we have partners, usually our weekends are very busy because we have family responsibilities. But even if we don't have children or we're single right now, we could have family nearby where we have to visit them. Elena has a family, but she also spends the weekends with her parents. How old are my parents? Valerio, how old are your parents? At the weekend, I like going out with my friends, but I don't always have the time. And Valentina says, I'm with my boyfriend on the weekend. Very nice. What do you like to do with your boyfriend at the weekend? Do you like to go out or do you prefer to relax at home? Daniele says that he goes to the mountains or to the beach at the weekend. Where do you like to go? Thank you, Elena. Please focus on the lesson. Let's go to the cinema or take a walk. So Maria also has very exciting activities that she does at the weekend. I don't go to the cinema very often because at the weekend, since I work inside, I work indoors. If I have the opportunity to spend time outside at the weekend, I prefer to do that. Now we want to get into our adverbs of frequency. We use adverbs of frequency to answer when the question is how often. What are the three most common adverbs of frequency? Does anyone know? The three most common, the three that we use most often. And often is not one of the three. Usually when we start the lesson about adverbs of frequency, there's 100%, 50%, and then 0. So that there are things you do 100% of the time, things you do 50% of the time, and things that you do 0% of the time. And these are the three most common adverbs of frequency: always, sometimes, and never. But we also have adverbs of frequency that come in between. We have adverbs of frequency that come between always and sometimes. Thank you very much, Elena. Always, never, usually is between always and sometimes. And then there are other adverbs that come between sometimes and never. Let's take a look if they give us a list of the adverbs. So the three most common are always, sometimes, never. So thinking of keeping these adverbs in mind, we want to use them when we answer the questions. We have always, usually, sometimes, rarely, never. Usually and often are pretty close. So let's go through some of these questions. How often do you go? I never go to IKEA. Daniele, I hate IKEA. I hate IKEA and I hate it on Sundays. If I have to go to I never have to go to IKEA, but if I happen to look in a catalog and I see something that I could use from IKEA, then I try to go in the week when I know that no one is going to be there, because IKEA for me is torture. IKEA, the GE, all these big malls and shopping places give me anxiety. So I never go to IKEA. How often do you go to IKEA, Daniele? How often do you eat out in restaurants at the weekend? And so I'm going to ask you these questions, and then you can answer, putting your answers in the conversation box over to the right, okay? So eating out in restaurants is another weekend activity. Some of us may eat out during the week on the fly because we're short on time. But if you have a leisurely dinner or the opportunity to eat with friends, you may prefer to eat out at the weekend. So at the weekend, I sometimes eat out in restaurants. Sometimes. So if there are 4 weekends in a month, maybe 2 times I eat out in a restaurant. How often do you eat out in restaurants at the weekend? Or do you prefer to eat at home? As you're considering how often you eat out in restaurants, where do you go at the weekend? Do you go to the city center? Do you go to the gym? Do you go to the sports center? Or do you go to the shopping center? Elena says, I sometimes eat out in restaurants at the weekend. Usually, thank you, Maria. I usually go eat pizza at the weekend. Remember that our adverb of frequency, usually, sometimes, often, never, comes before the verb. So as Elena said, I sometimes eat out. I usually go to eat a pizza. I always make pizza at the weekend. And Daniele says, married's life. Does that mean you go to restaurants or you stay at home, Daniele? I always go to the supermarket at the weekend. Thank you very much, Elena. So do I. I always go to the supermarket at the weekend, even though I prefer not to, because Saturday is a very busy day at the supermarket. So where do I usually go at the weekend? I never go to the gym. I never go to the sports center. I sometimes go to the shopping center, and I rarely go to the city center. I usually go to the city center in the week, not at the weekend. And here we have another question. When do you go? When do you go is a more general time. It's not what time do you go. If I ask you what time, then you give me the hour. I go at 4 o'clock. I go at 12:30. If I ask you when, you can give me the day or the time of day, the period of day. For example, morning, afternoon, or evening. Elena says, if I were to ask Elena, when do you go to the supermarket? Elena says, I always go to the supermarket at the weekend. That's when. What time of day do you go? Or when do you go? Elena could say, I usually go in the morning. I usually go to the cinema. Thank you, Valentina. So Valentina usually goes to the cinema at the weekend. I'm assuming you usually go to the cinema with your boyfriend, right? Notice also our prepositions. When do you go? I go at the weekend. When do you go? I go on Saturday or I go on Sunday. When do you go? I go in the morning. I go in the afternoon. I go in the evening. So it's at the weekend, on Saturday, on Sunday, in the morning, in the afternoon, or in the evening. So thinking about these different questions, we have 3 questions on the screen right now. The last question is, who do you go with? Now what do I want you to do? I want you to choose one of the 3. How often do you? Where do you? When do you? Then give me who. Sometimes on Saturdays, I go shopping at the mall. Thank you very much, Maria. Very, very good. Notice Maria's answer. Sometimes on Saturdays, I go shopping at the mall. So she used her prepositions correctly. On Saturdays, I go shopping at the mall. So but who do you go with, Maria? So everybody wants to answer who and then choose one of the 3. For example, I sometimes go to restaurants at the weekend with my friend. I've given you my adverb of frequency. I sometimes go to restaurants at the weekend with my friend. She's actually one of my colleagues. And I'll show you what I mean. I sometimes go to eat in restaurants with my friend. This is my answer. This is the example. So everybody answers who, and you choose one of the questions. How often, where, or when? I chose the first one. I sometimes go to eat in restaurants with my friend at the weekend. Sorry. So as you're considering who you go with, then you can choose one of these three questions on your screen. How often, where you need an adverb of frequency. Where do you go? You need a place. When do you go? Consider your prepositions. I go on a day of the week. I go at the weekend, or I go in the period of day, in the morning, in the afternoon, or in the evening. If we realize that there are so many things we could do at the weekend, that maybe we didn't realize how many things we could do at the weekend until we were left in a situation where we could not do anything. And I think we also realize how much time we spend doing things that we have to do, how many responsibilities we have, or how much responsibility we have. But as Elena pointed out in the beginning, it's also important to take time to relax and to take time to do nothing. Let's go on to the next slide. In my city. So some of us may live in Prato, others of us may live somewhere else. I know I'm in the fantastic metropolis of Montale. So thinking about your city, let's think about weekend activities that you can do in your city and your town. So if we don't leave our city at the weekend, what can we do near home? What is your favorite thing to do in your city? When do you go out in your city? Who do you go with? And where do you go? Now, even though I live in Montale, I spend the majority of my time in Prato because that's where I work. So my favorite thing to do in Prato is to walk around the city center. I usually walk around the city center after work in the week. But at the weekend, I like going shopping in the city center. Who do I go with? If I go shopping, I prefer going shopping alone. This way I can take my time and think about things. And where do I go? Well, I go to the shoe shop in the center, and I also go to a coffee shop that sells bags. They make bags from coffee. They make bags from coffee bags. And so I like to buy the bags in the coffee shop. Okay, do we understand the questions that we need to answer here? We have weekend activities in our city. What can you do near home? Oh, Danielle, did you answer me before? You said when I stay at home when I don't go shopping in the center. I find that if I stay at home, I have more things to do. So it's actually better if I leave my house. So think about where you live and what weekend activities are possible in your city. What's your favorite thing to do in your city? For those of you who live in Prato, what do you like to do in Prato? I don't like to spend a lot of money, so I try to do things where I spend very little or nothing at all. Sometimes I'll meet a friend for coffee. Other times I'll go shopping. I don't always buy something. Sometimes it's just enjoyable to walk around the city center and to go window shopping. Do we know what window shopping is? Window shopping is when you walk around the city center without buying anything, but you look in the windows and see if there's something you would like to buy. How do you like to spend your time? We've been talking most of this focus about responsibility that we have at the weekend. And so a lot of times there are things that we have to do. But this question, on the other hand, asks us, how do we like to spend our time? If you can't think of an answer, a personal answer to these questions, feel free to make a question and ask me. We said that the title of this slide is In My City. So if you would like to ask me, form a question. Thank you, Daniele. Thank you so much. In my city, the favorite thing are Matei's cookies at Sunday when we eat this after lunch at home. Thank you very much. I know those cookies. So you buy the cookies and then you eat them after lunch on Sunday. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for sharing. Feel free also to form questions and ask me. So if you say, oh, Jennifer, don't you live in Montale? I've heard about Montale. What? Favorite thing. You want to know what my favorite thing is in my city. So what is the question that you could ask? So if I tell you what the favorite thing to do in my city is, then the question that comes after is, when do you do it? And Daniele gave a wonderful answer because he mentioned his favorite thing in his city, and he told us when that he gets them and he eats them on Sundays. Who does he eat them with? He eats them with his family. Where? At home. So he answered all 4 questions in his answer, in his experience. Thank you very much. Does anyone have a question for me? Isn't anyone curious about what happens in Montale? This is a fantastic city. No one ever asks me about my home. Oh, Maria says, in my city, I prefer to go for a nice walk with my family. Very good. Where do you walk in your city, Maria? Where do you walk? Do you walk in the city center? Do you walk along the river? Do you walk in your neighborhood near your house? Thank you, Daniele. Daniele says, what are your favorite things? My favorite things in Montale are the library, La Zmileia, which is a library. Sometimes they have artistic events, they have music, and it's also a library where you can borrow books. And I also like the eyeglass shop in Montale. The woman who works there is fantastic, and she has wonderful eyeglasses. She has very fashionable eyewear. So I enjoy shopping for eyeglasses, and I enjoy going to the library at the weekend in Montale. And I usually, because I spend so much time with people in the week, if I have the opportunity to do something alone at the weekend, then I enjoy to do things alone. Because most of my time in the week, I'm with a lot of people. So sometimes I need some me time, some alone time. Thank you for asking, Daniele. Does anyone else have another question? Does anyone else want to tell me about their city, the favorite thing to do in their city? I'm assuming that all of us are from the same area, more or less. But if anyone comes from a different city, for example, if you're tuning in from Florence or if you're tuning in from Pistoia, it might be interesting to know what there is to do in your city. What do you prefer? So we've talked about responsibility. We've talked about things we enjoy doing at the weekend. And now we want to make a choice. Let's take a look at these questions together. Which do you prefer? Do you prefer the city or the countryside at the weekend? Thank you, Maria. Maria says, in my city, I sometimes go with friends to shop. In my city, I sometimes go with my friends. Okay, Maria. In my city, I sometimes go shopping with my friends. Okay, that would be the correct order of your words for your sentence. In my city, I sometimes go shopping, because the adverb of frequency sometimes goes before the verb. So I sometimes go shopping with my friends. In my city, I sometimes go shopping with my friends. Okay, this would be the proper order, the proper sentence structure. Okay, Maria, thank you very much. A lot of us enjoy going shopping with our friends. I enjoy going shopping with my friends if we are shopping for the same thing. For example, if we both want to go shoe shopping, then okay. If we both want to go shopping for bags, then okay. But if she wants to go like shopping for high-end fashion and I need a pair of jeans for work, Montale is a quiet town. It's right for quiet life and for sympathy. Montale is very, very quiet, Daniele. It's so quiet. It's extremely quiet. It's very, very quiet. And it's small. But that's the way it is. So I can't complain. But the nice thing about it is that if I want quiet, I can come home. And if I don't want quiet, I'm close enough to other cities where I can go to Prato, I can go to Pistoia, I can go to Florence and be in an exciting city. And then when I'm tired, I can come back to Montale. So for the end of our focus, we want to talk about our preferences. What do we prefer to do? Do we prefer the city or the countryside at the weekend? Do you do housework on the weekend? I think a lot of us do. Do you like to sleep late on the weekend? Do you prefer weekends in summer or winter? So you can choose a question and type your answer in the comment box to the right. At the weekend, I prefer, depending on the weather. For example, if it's a weekend in summer, then I prefer the countryside or the seaside. If it's a weekend in winter, then I prefer to stay in the city or in Montale. Thank you very much, Daniele. Daniele says, I prefer the countryside at the weekend because I always work in the city. Very good. So Daniele enjoys getting away from the city at the weekend because when you work in the city all week long, at the weekend you like time to decompress. You like time to relax and take it easy. Does anyone like to sleep late on the weekend? I like to sleep late. I can't say I always do. Sleeping late for me is about 9 o'clock, maybe 9 or 9:30. That's very late for me. If I only sleep really late if I'm sick. So I don't sleep at the weekend because I work at home. Daniele, so you work all week long and then you go home for the weekend and then you don't sleep late. I know. Because sometimes we have to get up early. I know Saturdays I get up early anyway. Sometimes on Sunday, if I can, I sleep till about 9, if I can. Okay, here we have a list of important people in our lives. This is our last slide for today. And we want to practice a little bit of third person. So throughout this entire focus, we've talked about what we prefer. I prefer to, I usually, I sometimes, I don't at the weekend. Now we want to give a phrase about someone that we know at the weekend. So you can choose someone, a friend, a relative, a classmate, Valerio, if you're still there. What do they do at the weekend? So if you're talking about someone else, what do these people do at the weekend? For example, my mother does the shopping at the weekend, but she's a very specific shopper. So she has about 4 different supermarkets that she goes to, and it's an all-day event. She buys her fruits and vegetables from one place. She gets her fish and meat from someplace else. She buys her dried goods from another shop. So she spends all day going to different grocery stores because she lives in a small town on Long Island. So it's also a social event because she talks to people in the shops. So we're coming to an end. Our focus is wrapping up in just a few minutes. Would anybody like to leave a comment as I review what we did in this morning's focus activity? So you can talk about what you have to do at the weekend, what you like to do at the weekend, what you usually do at the weekend, or you can leave a comment about someone you know. What do they usually do at the weekend? I mentioned that my mother usually does the shopping, which is an all-day event because she visits several shops to do her shopping at the weekend. So it's also a very social activity for her because she talks to the people in the shops because she lives in a small town on Long Island. So in this morning's focus activity, we talked about weekend activities, things we enjoy doing at the weekend. We realized that during this period, we don't have the luxury, because it's become a luxury now, we don't have the luxury of going out at the weekend. But still, it's nice to think about things we do at the weekend so that we can appreciate it a little bit more when we will have the opportunity to go out again at the weekend. Because I know that we all agree that we miss going out at the weekend. And someday soon, we're going to go out again. And this time, we'll appreciate it a lot more. If we spend our weekend alone, relaxing, if we spend our weekend with friends, eating in restaurants, or if we spend our weekend at home. Thank you, Daniele. Daniele says, I often see my friend at the weekend. We go running in the morning and we go to the cinema at night. Very nice. Daniele is one of the busiest people I've ever met. He works all week. At the weekend, he's shopping, he's doing shopping, he's running and everything else. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you for listening in this morning. For those of you who are around later on today, I will be live again this evening at 7 for Focus 810, and we are talking about architecture. So if no one has any questions, or you don't have any comments to leave about our focus activity this morning, then I would like to wish everyone a good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. It was very, very nice to talk about weekend activities. And if you're free later on today, I will be live again at 7 on YouTube and on our Facebook page for Focus 810 Architecture. So have a good day, everybody, and I will see you next time. Bye, Daniele. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining me today. Bye, Valerio, and bye, Cosmine. I'll see everybody next time.